It's time again for the Science Bowl.
Zoo Parade for 5. What big teeth the hippo has are actually a pair of these. Science Potpourri for 10. Would a snake most likely eat every day? Every week, Dateline Science for 10. Why are some elephants wearing necklaces these days? Green things for 15.
And now, here's your host, Mr. Z himself, Dave Zarin.
Thank you, and welcome to the Science Bowl, the science quiz program here in the Prince George's County Public Schools for elementary and middle school students, and for all of you out there watching. See if you can match wits with the outstanding students here to play our game today. We're going to see teams from Foote and Mother Jones competing for the chance to move on in our competition, and we start out with that team from Foote. Let's say hello to the team. Zoe, wave to everybody. Nice looking mascot there. And her twin sister is here. Ruby, hey Ruby. They're both sixth graders. Again, a beautiful mask. And joining them is a fourth grader, Jace. Jace, nice to have you here. Wave to the audience, please. All right. Good luck to you. Let's get started on our game. Let's go to the Green Things category. We have categories from Green Things up through Dateline Science. Here is the 5-point question in Green Things to start our game. A lot of you might have learned your numbers and your ABCs by watching a program on this seed-named street. Sesame Street, that's it. Got yourself 5 points. That's the way to start the game. For 15 points in Green Things. Science did something recently that was very odd. They injected algae into the bloodstream of a tadpole, exposed the tadpole to light, and discovered that the algae produced this gas inside the tadpole. So photosynthesis took place inside the tadpole and produced this gas.
Carbon?
Not carbon. Good try. Oxygen. Plants produce oxygen, which is why we live. We couldn't live without plants. They produce oxygen in photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide, you were right there, is what the plants take in order to produce the oxygen on the other side. All right, let's go to the 25-point question in the Green Things category. How many of you plant a garden in the spring? Any of you ever plant flowers or vegetables? Yeah, Jason's saying, I do. Good. Well, you know, sometimes you can speed things up. Because if you put the seeds, instead of putting them in the ground, put them in the refrigerator first. That tricks the seeds into thinking, hey, I've been through winter and now it's time for me to go to work because it's springtime. That tricking them into thinking they have gone through winter is a process that has the same name as this V as in victory equinox that occurs on March the 23rd. Another name for the spring equinox is this V initialed. Girls, what are you looking at? Just kind of look at me, okay, and kind of be thinking about what you're doing. It's called the vernal equinox, the spring equinox, when you have 12 hours daylight and 12 hours of nighttime. Another name for the spring equinox is the vernal equinox, and it's called vernalization, when you put the seeds into the refrigerator to trick them into thinking they've been through the winter. Let's go to the zoo for 5 points. The book and the TV series Arthur is all about Arthur Reed, a very human-like one of these animals, the first animal listed in the dictionary.
It's an aardvark.
Aardvark is right, absolutely good. Arthur the aardvark. Zoo Parade for 15 points. This is very interesting. Listen carefully to this word. Hopefully you've prepared for Science Bowl by learning different kinds of prefixes and suffixes and what words mean. Despite the obvious difficulties, a very rare bicephalic turtle has been moving and eating normally. Wow. Why is that so unexpected? Bicephalic, B-I-C-E-P-H-A-L-I-C. A bicephalic turtle, very rare, has been moving around and eating as if it were normal. Why is that so unexpected? What clues does that word give you? Ruby, do you recognize any part of that word? Bi stands for two. Cephalic refers to heads. The turtle has two heads.
I'm gonna
Which
pass
is
it
why-
to, I'm gonna, oh,
Go ahead. What were you saying?
I was gonna pass it to Jace, but never mind.
You were going to pass it to Jace. Okay. All right. So that two-headed turtle is moving around and eating normally. You wonder how long that turtle can live if they're kind of taking turns, if they have one stomach or two stomachs. Sometimes that happens. In twinning, you know about twinning there, girls. All right. Zoop prayed for 25 points. Charles Darwin, that famous scientist, was captivated by these B as in boy, B initial crustaceans that cement themselves to boats, piers, and even on the sides of animals like whales and turtles. You will see these B initial crustaceans. They're hard to get off.
Barnacles?
Yeah, that's it, barnacles, yeah. If you remember Barnacle Boy, you know, it was in the cartoons. Barnacle is the correct answer. Good, you got yourself 25 points. That's the way to do it. All right, let's now move on to the body systems for 5 points. If you answer one of my questions without thinking what you've said, it's often like the quick reaction of this joint that when tapped with a small hammer can flip up. It's called the so-called what jerk reaction. A joint in the body. Are you all in the same room there? I see you looking around. Are you all sitting close to each other there? Oh, that's why you're kind of looking to each other for ideas. That's great. Make sure you're unmuted so I can hear some of the ideas that you're throwing out. Make sure you're unmuted there so I can hear. That's it.
What do you guys think? Maybe reflexes, or I can't hear you. Maybe reflexes. Reflexes, yeah, that could work. But it's a joint. I don't think there's a joint called reflexes. Jeez.
You're right about that. It is a reflex, and a reflex is not the name of a joint. You're absolutely correct on that. It's called a knee jerk reaction. It's your knee. The doctor will tap your knee with a little hammer, and if it kicks up without you even thinking about it, that's a good sign. That's the knee jerk reaction to let you know that your nervous system is working. All right, let's go to the 15-point question in body systems. Inside your ear are the 3 smallest bones in your body. One's called the malleus, but because it looks like a hammer, it's called a hammer bone. The stapes bone, because it looks like a stirrup that you put your foot in if you're riding a horse, so they call it the stirrup bone instead of the stapes. The hammer, the stirrup, and then the last one is called the incus bone, but they call it by another name because it resembles one of these that is used in making horseshoes. They pound on it with a hammer, with the metal, when they're making a horseshoe. What do you call that device?
Oh, a spackle? Is it, no.
Maybe, you know, we don't make horseshoes so much anymore. And if you don't ride, you probably maybe have never seen it. But a lot of times in cartoons, they drop one from a building and it usually hits somebody on the ground. It's called an anvil, A-N-V-I-L. Hammer, stirrup, and anvil. All right, one more question for you. One more question in body systems is a picture. We're going to show you a picture. Foote, take note of that tall man. The tallest teenager that ever lived was that man, Robert Wadlow. He measured 8 feet 1 inch. Like most giants, Mr. Wadlow suffered from a tumor on his pituitary gland in his head that produced too much growth hormone. The pituitary gland is part of what E initialed body system.
Do you guys think it's the endocrine gland or something? Maybe.
I heard somebody say something right. Say it again.
Endocrine gland?
Endocrine is the correct answer. That's the way to end the round. You got yourself those 25 points, so you end the first round here with 110 Foote. That's the way to keep playing like that in the second half. We'll see you again in a couple minutes. It is now time to meet that team from Mary Harris Mother Jones Elementary School. Would you please say hello to Billy? Hey, Billy, wave to everybody at home if you would. Good to have him here. He's a 5th grader. We have another 5th grader, Alexander. Alexander, wave to everyone. Nice to have you here, Alexander. And one more 5th grader. Hey, Alan. Thanks for being on the show. Very good. All right, guys, let's get started. We have our green things questions for you, 5, a 15, and a 25 to start your game. Here's your 5-point question in green things. Long associated with Thanksgiving Day pies, these gourds can grow to weigh over 2,000 pounds, enough to win you a blue ribbon at any county fair. Name that gourd.
Pumpkins.
That's right. Those pumpkins sometimes are so big you need a flatbed truck. You know, they pump them through with plant hormones, and they win county fairs. A pumpkin pie. That's it. 5 points to start the game. 15 points in green things. You probably never thought about this, but a bumblebee's buzzing serves a very practical purpose. It loosens this in the flower, making it easier for the bees to collect it.
Nectar.
No, we're talking about pollen here. Okay, it loosens this, making it easier for the bees to collect it. The pollen grains are what are loosened there. Good try. Green things for 25 points. The grains like wheat found in multi-grain breads have 3 parts. The bran, the endosperm, and this third part that has the same name as what living things that you worry can cause an infection if you cut yourself. What can cause an infection if you cut yourself? What's the name of that thing that causes the infection? We're talking about germs. Germs. Germs is the right answer there. The endosperm, the bran, and the germ. And germ, of course, that's a real term. When we talk about germs in our bodies, were usually the bacteria. But germs was the right answer there. All right, you got pumpkins right. Let's go to the zoo. See how well you do in the zoo. Zoo for 5 points. The animal with the highest blood pressure is this mammal, familiar as Jeffrey to many people as a toy store mascot. I don't hear anything out there. Have you unmuted yourselves, or are you just thinking quietly?
Something that has a high blood pressure. Something. Think of an animal that is like kind of big.
Oh, the whale?
Gorilla.
Let's go for
Gorilla's a good try. The correct answer here is a giraffe. A giraffe has to get blood all the way from its body, all the way up to that brain at the top. A giraffe can be sometimes 18 feet tall. And there was a toy store years ago that had Jeffrey as its mascot, maybe before your time. Let's go to the zoo for 15 points. This largest of the carnivorous marsupials was always depicted in Warner Brothers cartoons as a tornado.
Huh? A coyote?
Now, a coyote, no, isn't a marsupial, but the one I'm talking about is the Tasmanian devil, Taz. It used to go spinning around. It looked like a tornado flying through the cartoon.
Hey, Dave, before you move on, if I could just make sure that each of the students is muting themselves while Mr. Z is asking the question. Then you can unmute it, okay? The other thing is there a big screen monitor where everyone's listening in the room there as well? You each have headphones, but I'm hearing a speaker in there. And if there is, if you could just have them turn that down, please, because we're getting a lot of echo.
Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Mr. Z, continue on.
Okay, all right. All right, so Tasmanian devil is what we were looking for there. The largest carnivorous marsupial. You know, kangaroos are marsupials, wombats are marsupials, but they're not carnivorous. And that Tasmanian devil, oftentimes depicted as a spinning tornado in the cartoons. All right, for 25 points in zoo. Volunteers are now being recruited to closely examine thousands of satellite images of the Arctic as scientists try to get an accurate count of the number of these large mammals that use their tusks to fight off polar bears.
It's supposed to be in the Arctic. Walrus.
I heard
Walrus?
someone say it. Walrus is correct, yes, for 25 points. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, 3 more questions for you before we take our break. In-body systems for 5 points. If you're watching a really scary movie like Halloween or It, this part of your body might tingle.
Your neck. Probably your neck.
Be more specific. Neck is part of your what?
Your head.
Not quite. It's part of your spine. Sometimes they say that scary movies like Alien and It are spine tingling because, you know, it's a way that you can express that you're scared. Let's go to body systems for 15 points. By changing a gene, doctors were able recently to transplant one of these renal, R-E-N-A-L organs from a pig into a human being without it being rejected. What organ did they take from the pig? A renal organ, and put it into a human being. They were able to do that because they altered the genes in the pig's organ. Okay.
The heart?
Okay, Captain Billy, is that your answer?
Yes.
Okay. The heart is a cardiac organ, but a renal organ is your kidney. You have 2 kidneys. Kidney was the right answer there. All right, let's show you a picture for 25 points. You'll see an operation taking place. Doctors are in the heart, and they are sewing in there one of these V, as in victory, V initialed flaps that make the sound that you hear when you hear your heart going lub-dub, lub-dub, lub-dub. It's one of these V initialed flaps, which sometimes has to be replaced because they can become defective, that is causing those sounds. Your answer has to begin with the letter V. What you got? The correct answer there, Mother Jones, was valves. All right, but you're still at 80 points. And the first round, you know, you're kind of getting used to the game. We'll bring you back in a couple of minutes, talk to you, and give you your second 9 questions. All right, it's now time to bring that team back from Fort Foote and find out about our players. And let's go to Zoe. Zoe, tell me a little bit about why you wanted to be on the Science Bowl.
I wanted to be on the Science Bowl because I just thought it would be a great opportunity to learn more about science, and I like to compete also, so.
And that shows you're a good competitor, and you bring a good point. We want to find out what you know about science, but we hope you take away some information too, so that this is a learning experience for you as well. And you're doing a nice job here today, you and your sister both, and Jace. And let's find out about your sister, Ruby. Hey, Ruby, good to have you on the show here today. I like your matching masks that you and your sister have on. So what's it like being in school with a twin? What's that like?
Fun?
It's fun? Well, I'm glad to hear that, yeah. Sometimes sisters and brothers and sisters fight, but you know, usually twins are a little bit closer. And the two of you seem to be close there. How did you learn so much about science? Where does all your science knowledge come from? I bet you're a good student.
Yeah, most of it comes from like school and stuff.
Yeah. Do you like to read?
Yes.
Yes. Reading is such a good way to learn not just science, but so many of the things you're going to need in life. It's good to have you here. Let's find out about Jace. Hey, Jace, you're a 4th grader. That's pretty young to be on Science Bowl, but you're doing really well here. Is science one of your favorite subjects?
Yes. I have so many science books.
That's great. And you seem to have a curiosity about life, and that's what is important in science and just about anything. What do you want to do someday? Would you like to be a scientist?
I want to be a scientist and a pilot.
And a pilot. Well, oh, there's a lot of physics and mathematics involved in flying. In fact, if you go on our website, there's a video that's playing right now about a young man who is piloting a glider, and he's a student at Charles Flowers High School. You'll see him taking off, and he wants to fly Boeing 737s. So, I mean, he's got the flying bug just like you do. Good luck in that, Jace. Keep up your good work. All right, it's time for your last 9 questions. Fort Foote, we're going to go to the Let's Get Physical category. We've got 3 questions there, and if you are ready, let's begin. First question is a multiple choice question. If something registers a 5 on the Fujita scale, F-U-J-I-T-A, would you be in danger of massive flooding, powerful winds, or the ground beginning to shake? The television anchor comes on with breaking news. This has just registered a 5 on the Fujita scale, meaning, are you in danger of massive flooding, powerful winds, or the ground beginning to shake?
Oh, we're gonna go with massive winds.
Massive winds, powerful winds is absolutely right, because the Fujita scale measures the strength of tornadoes. That's the way to do it. Start out the second half with your 5 points. Perfect. Let's go to 15 points and let's get physical. It has long been thought that the only 3 chemical elements present at the Big Bang, you know the Big Bang is how the universe is supposed to have started. Way back then, during the Big Bang, there were only 3 chemical elements with the symbols H, the second one's symbol He, and the third one was Li. Can you tell me what those 3 chemicals are? Their symbols are H, H small e,
Hydrogen.
and L small I.
Okay.
Teamwork, all 3 of you. Let's get each of you to get one.
To Jace.
All right, Chase, let's do it.
Okay. I'm gonna say hydrogen. And Jason's gonna say
Hydrogen is your H.
I think it's helium and lithium.
All right, you got all three. Give yourselves a pat on the back there. Pat on the back time. Smile time. Wonderful. Good work. All right, let's go to 25 points. If you're a Dr. Seuss fan, you probably know what oobleck is. Oobleck is a non-Newtonian fluid that changes thickness depending on the amount of stress it's under. If you squeeze it suddenly, it becomes a solid. If you grab it slowly, it's a liquid. You can make oobleck in your kitchen because there are two substances you can find in your kitchen. One is a gravy thickener. The other is a common liquid. Name both to tell me how you can make oobleck.
it's water and cornstarch.
Yes, ma'am. Perfect. You got yourselves 25 points. Captain, you came through for me there. Zoe, you did really well. You got all of those. Let's keep it going. Perfect score in the second half. Potpourri for 5 points. Let's show you a picture. Someday, I hope you go to Niagara Falls. Maybe you've already been in Niagara Falls up there in Canada and see the beautiful Horseshoe Falls. Wow, massive. The water vapor that you see there produced by the falls is better known not as water vapor, but by this M-initialed name. Tiny water droplets suspended in the air close to the ground. Water vapor can also be known by this M-initialed word. Hey, Jace, what you thinking?
We're gonna say mist.
It is mist. And if you look at that picture, closely, you might have seen a boat down below called the Maid of the Mist. And it takes you right in. They give you these big ponchos to wear so you don't get drenched. Good answer. Potpourri for 15 points. Here we go. Mount Rushmore, that mountain in South Dakota where the heads of 4 presidents are carved into the mountain. It is eroding very slowly. Thanks to it being made of hard granite, which is an igneous rock, but it's also made of rocks like marble and schist, which belong to this M-initialed group of rocks. Not igneous, not sedimentary. What is that M-initialed group? Jay says, I'm on it.
It's metamorphic.
It is metamorphic. Oh, you guys are on a roll here. You're on a roll. 25 points in potpourri. One of the rarest of sharks is called megamouth, which, like its relative, the whale shark, which is the biggest fish in the world, has very few teeth, is not aggressive, and swims with his mouth wide open to capture these P, as in Paul, initial kinds of creatures. Those big-mouthed, harmless whale sharks and megamouth sharks are eating what kinds of P initial kinds of creatures, which is why they have their mouths so wide open.
Plankton.
It is plankton. Perfect. Wow. Gets us 3 more. You're racking up the points. All right. This is DATELINE for 5 points. You probably saw these on the news. Nobody could believe they saw them. For 5 points, it seems appropriate that a group of lions is called a pride, while a group of these African horse-like creatures seen running loose in Prince George's County recently, a group of them is called a dazzle.
Is zebra?
Zebras, yeah, those zebras were running around down at Upper Marlboro, and people couldn't believe what are zebras doing in Maryland? They had gotten loose from an animal farm down there. Good answer. Your streak continues. 15 points, DATELINE, multiple choice. Famed for her groundbreaking research on chimpanzee behavior, Jane Goodall has changed the textbooks on which of the following subjects? Primatology, herpetology, or entomology?
Primatology.
Primatology, herpetology, or entomology? Textbooks about chimpanzee behavior.
Primatology.
Primatology, that's right, because chimpanzees are primates, just like we are, and lemurs. All right, get this last one right, and you've got a perfect score in the second half. Can't suppress the smile. I can't either, because you're doing so well. 25 points, Dateline. In 1987, there was something called a Montreal Protocol. It was an agreement among all the world's countries to phase out chemicals, like those found in aerosol cans, that were causing holes to form in the Earth's ozone layer. Why was that a bad thing? Because the ozone layer is a layer of gas that protects us from what kind of dangerous radiation coming from the sun?
Gamma ray.
Correct answer there was ultraviolet, but you got every other question right, so you end the game with 220 points. That's the way to do it. That is the way to do it, Foote. Let's see if that's enough to win the game. We'll see you again in a couple minutes. All right, it's now time to meet that team again from Mother Jones. Let's find out about our players here, and let's find out about our fifth grader, Billy. Billy, how did they make you the captain of the team?
They made me the captain because they saw that I talked a lot, and I was very I talked a lot with the teammates. I usually always showed up when we had the Zoom.
Well, those are important qualities. You are a leader. People recognize you are a leader, and you're responsible. So if you had to be somewhere, you were there. And just like you're here today, that someone once said 99% of any job is showing up, and being responsible is important. How do you know so much science?
I have a science teacher that she teaches science. She is very helpful when we don't really know the answer. She gives us clues, hints. Sometimes she even tells us the answer. She makes us give us a lot of questions.
That's great. What's her
we
name?
need to solve. Her name is Miss Gretchen.
Well, I know she's very proud to hear you and grateful that you're saying that, because she's lucky to have a student like you in the class too who does so well. Let's find out about your teammates. Let's go to Alexander, another fifth grader just like Billy. Alexander, why'd you want to be on the Science Bowl? Have you been watching it for years and thought, boy, I want to do that someday?
Yes, I really want it because last year I was in here and I wanted to try again this year.
So last year you were a fourth grader, which is young to be on the Science Bowl, but you learned how it was about. So you do seem relaxed today and all. Are you having a good time?
Yes.
I'm glad you are, because we like having you back again, and maybe you'll be back next year as well. You know, you can play until you're in the 8th grade, and you're just a great young man. Let's talk to Alan. Hey, Alan, nice to have you on the show. Is this your first time on the show, Alan?
Yes.
Yes. And why'd you want to do it?
Because it sounded interesting and I thought I could learn more things about science.
And I hope you are. I hope you're taking away some of the questions you get right, you knew already, but some of the questions maybe you're having trouble with, maybe you remember some of that, so we hope you take that away. But you're all great students. You wouldn't be here. Mr. Kamen wouldn't have picked you had you not impressed him with the kinds of work habits you have and the kind of science that you know. All right. Mother Jones, if you're ready, let's do your last 9 questions. Let's get them all right. Make an effort to get them all. I know you want to do that. Here we go. Let's get physical for 5 points. It is very easy to slip on ice because ice provides very little of this force.
So, yeah, it's ice. So, gravity?
Not gravity. Good try. Gravity sometimes, once you slip, will pull you back down onto the ground. It's friction. There's no friction, which is why, you can't get any traction on ice, which is, and there's a lot of ice out there right now as we're taping this show. So, yeah, you've got to be very careful. You don't have enough friction. That's why you can throw sand on the ice to increase the amount of friction, or wear shoes, not tennis shoes, but shoes with, rough soles out there. Okay, 15 points, and let's get physical. You know, when a volcano's lava reaches the sea, a lot of pictures on TV show lava coming out of a volcano, rolling down the slopes, and it goes into the sea, and all of this smoke rises from the ocean. Well, it's not smoke that's coming up. It's this. And it contains a lot of particles and glass and a lot of acid from the lava. It's not smoke, it's this, when that hot lava hits the ocean.
He gave us a hint that it's something made of glass, sand, molten rock.
No, this substance, this
Steam?
it's not smoke, but it's something else. Say it again, please.
Steam?
Steam, exactly right. Yeah, so when water boils, it produces steam. So that hot lava is boiling the water. And what we're seeing is the steam coming up, and it includes things from the lava itself. Good answer, 15 points. Let's go to 25 points. If you're a Superman fan, you'll know this one. This odorless, tasteless, colorless gas with the chemical symbol K, small r, has been made into a crystal form by scientists hoping to replicate the fictional material that took away Superman's superpowers. If you ever watch, I know Spider-Man is the superhero of the moment, but Superman's powers were taken away by something called kryptonite. That was his Achilles heel, and Kr stands for krypton, which is an actual chemical element. All right, let's go to potpourri for 5 points. The Centers for Disease Control has approved the practice of receiving COVID vaccine boosters that are a different brand from the original ones you received. So if you got a Pfizer the first time, they're saying, why don't you get a Moderna the second time? Because if you mix them up, it could increase the level of these A-initialed fighting organisms in your blood.
It starts with the A.
Starts with an A. The things that help you fight off infection.
Antibody?
Antibodies is right. Good, 5 points. That's what I wanted to hear. All right, for 15 points, I have a picture for you. Very disturbing to look at, very disturbing. Look closely, and you'll see that this elk, which is a kind of deer, has a car tire around its neck. Obviously, it put its head through, and there was no way to get it off. So to get it off, and it had it on there for 2 years, wildlife officials had to shoot it with a dart containing what kind of drug, so that it could be put to sleep so they could saw off the antlers to remove the tire. They couldn't cut the tire off because it had steel bands in it, so they had to cut the antlers off. But to put that elk to sleep, they had a dart filled with what kind of drug? Maybe you've heard of tranquilizers. They use tranquilizing drugs. A lot of times if they're moving animals from one place to another, they want to take rhinos from one game park to another, they have to put them, because they're too big. You can't ask them or tell them, we're going to do this for your own good. So they put them to sleep temporarily with a tranquilizer. All right, for 25 points, if you're a golfer or if you watch golf, you know that a certain number of strokes is assigned to each hole. It's called par. If you score 1 under par on a hole, meaning you're better than what they hope you might be, you've birdied it. If you have 2 under par, it's called an eagle. And if you are 3 under par, you have earned another designation named for these long-winged A-initialed birds that stay in the sky most of their life. One of them is famous because it was killed in a story by a sailor. The story was called The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. And because they killed that bird, that A-initialed bird, bad luck came upon the ship. And the man who killed the bird had to wear the dead bird around his neck as punishment. Have you ever heard of that A-initialed bird? Sometimes called a wandering what? Albatross. A wandering albatross is the name of that bird. Look it up, the rime of the ancient mariner, R-I-M-E, and you'll read that story of that luckless sailor and the albatross that he killed and shouldn't have. All right, 3 more questions. Dateline for 5 points. Scientists in India have discovered 12 brand new species of this lizard, including one they named after martial artist Jackie Chan. None of the new lizards, though, speaks with a Cockney accent or advertises for an insurance company. All of those lizards are what kinds of lizards?
A gecko?
Gecko, yeah, the gecko. Gecko is right for 5 points. Good. Dateline for 15. Let's get this one. Since poachers nearly wiped out the elephant population in a country called Mozambique. Remember, poachers are people who kill animals illegally. Since the poachers nearly wiped out the elephant population in that country, killing the elephants for their tusks because they're made of ivory, more and more of the surviving tuskless female elephants are passing along genes for tusklessness. An example of this process that has been described as survival of the fittest and is associated with Charles Darwin. What's that process called?
No.
I know you've heard this word. It's called evolution. Evolution. How creatures change over the course of time. So here, since the elephants have somehow sensed that they're being killed for their tusks, a gene for no tusks is being passed along. It is evolving in this particular population, so maybe it will save the lives of the animals that are yet to come. All right, I have one more question for you. Dateline for 25 points. Okay. You know, down in South America, there's a country called Venezuela, and a very rich man there decided he wanted to import hippopotamuses to South America to live on his ranch. Hippos do not belong in South America. So what did they do when they got there? They started multiplying. They had no natural enemies, and they were filling all of the rivers and lakes with their dung, with their poop, fouling up the water. But it was also maybe helping some of the plants because all of that poop was fertilizer. My question to you is, the hippos were actually kind of filling a niche, a spot in the food web that at one time been occupied by now extinct animals that ate plants. Plant-eating animals are known as these kinds of animals. Okay, the correct answer there, the plant-eating animals are the herbivores. That's what those hippos are today. And there used to be extinct herbivores in South America, like large-headed llamas and others, but they're all gone, and giant ground sloths. So your final tally today is 105 points, Mother Jones. All right, we hope you enjoyed today's game. There were some tough questions, but some tough competitors as well. And I'm sure at home you were scratching your head on some of these, but you probably were able to answer the questions that the students couldn't because they are so well prepared. We're proud of all of them. They are the best in Prince George's County, and they are here representing their schools admirably, and they did so very well. Our final tally today, Mother Jones, 105 points, for Foote, 220 points, so for Foote, congratulations. Let's give Foote a round of applause. Everybody can clap, even though you can't hear that clapping where you're sitting. And let's also give a round of applause to the Mother Jones team. Mr. Kamen, first year as the coach, and we have Giselle and Nadeline and Mario as alternates at Mother Jones, and we have James and Alayla and Michaela as alternates at Fort Foote. And we just want to thank you all for being part of the Science Bowl today. We hope you had fun. We hope you learned something. We hope you come back and play again. You can relax now. I know it's nerve-wracking to do this for the first time, but we're just so happy that you had the courage to do it. You took the challenge, and you did it really well. I'm Dave Zarin. Until next time, we'll see you again on the Science Bowl. Bye-bye, everyone.